Rare Gem Productions proudly presents Entrepreneurially Thinking. Entrepreneurially Thinking is a presentation of BioSTL and CET, the Center for Emerging Technologies, changing the way you view new ventures and activating your entrepreneurial mindset, empowering you to create new pathways for business success in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. Here's your hosts, Cheryl and Christy. Now let's get thinking entrepreneurially.
Welcome back to the Entrepreneurially Thinking Podcast. I'm Christy Maxfield.
And I'm Dr. Cheryl Watkins-Moore. I lead our STEM Entrepreneurial Inclusion Initiative for BioSTL. Hey, lady.
How are you?
I am good.
Excellent.
And we're back.
We are back. You know, I just noticed the other day that BioSTL has a fancy new logo.
Fancy dancy.
Fancy to go with the fancy new building.
Just released.
Okie
yes.
dokie.
We'll be moving into the new building towards the end of summer.
That's very exciting.
Yes.
So it's a busy time of year,
Yes.
as always. I feel like it's always busy time of year, doing stuff, keeping going.
People think
around.
summer is the downtime. It's actually not downtime.
Not so much. Not so much. But it is a time to launch our 11th season.
Yes.
And to thank our founding sponsors, including BioSTL and our friends at CET for their continued support.
Yes.
So thank you to them. Check out the new logo and everything else that's going on at BioSTL. They just rehabbed a building here in the Cortex District, and it's a really nice...
It's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
I can't wait for the tour.
Yes.
So we are excited that that's going on. And the other thing that BioSTL has going on is the fact that there has been extensive planning already underway for Vision 2019.
Vision 2019. This is our 5th year.
And it is the only inclusion innovation conference in our region. And so we want to keep you aware that the date is October 18th.
Yes.
And that you can get your tickets and find out more information about the lineup at visionstlewis.com.
Absolutely.
So check us out, check them out, follow us on your favorite podcast platform. So follow ETHINKSTL, Ethink Podcast, stay listening, help us spread the word.
Yes, yes. And just to follow up with the Vision, it is the only conference that celebrates, educates, and supports women, people of color, and immigrant emerging entrepreneurs and existing business owners. So if you're building those STEM-focused ventures, you want to be at this event because this is for you, about you.
Absolutely. And I've been honored to be part of that planning process again this year. So thank you for that. I'm excited to see what comes together. Year 5.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. It's going to be fun.
It is. So what have we been doing besides planning Vision?
Yes. So did you know that women are 8 times more likely than men to work in occupations with poverty level wages?
Yes, I did, actually.
I think most women know that because we're there, right? Statistics show that African American women earn 67% of what white men do for comparable work, and Latina women earn only 61% for the equivalent. That's not shocking, but it's damn well just depressing.
Yes.
A local company by the name of Rung is on a path to educate women in an effort to change those statistics. Rung serves women who want to achieve holistic self-sufficiency and long-term family stability. I think that's what all women want to do, right? While there are many great organizations aiding women in crisis, Rung fills a very important existing gap for women who are in transition from poverty to sustained holistic success. So that's really important because you can be trying your best to move forward, but you know, if you're trying to keep moving forward from poverty to out of that, you need help. You need
you pretty much need everything to go right for about 5 straight years without any hiccups. Is
absolutely,
what you need.
Absolutely. So,
and in the absence of that, you need something like Rung.
I was going to say that. So, do you know someone who could benefit from this service? If you do, you better stay listening.
Purpose First Advisors is proud to support the Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. Purpose First works with entrepreneurs and the organizations that support them to accelerate business formation, scaling, and transformational growth. For more information about how to work with Purpose First Advisors on business model validation, financial modeling, core messaging, or other growth and profitability strategies, visit purposefirstadvisors.com.
CET the Center for Emerging Technologies, is a proud founding sponsor of the Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. We want you to know about all the great resources they provide, including the Square One Ignite and Bootcamp programs, as well as the online startup toolkit. The toolkit has videos, articles, and other materials to help you build your business. For more information about CET's programs, visit CETSTL.com. And for your renewed and continued support, CET, we say thank you.
Leslie Gill, I'm the Executive Director of Rung for Women. Thinking entrepreneurially means innovation, people-centered, and fun.
Joining us today is Leslie Gill. She's Executive Director of Rung. Leslie has had a number of leadership positions in for-profit and non-profit organization and has been involved in a lot of things in our community as Chief Executive Officer of the Annie Malone Children and Family Service Center, as well as College Summit, Girl Scouts of Greater St. Louis.
And Atlanta. Wow.
And, just keeping her finger on the pulse of all things that have been going on in our philanthropic and I would say entrepreneurial community as well. And we're really glad to have you here today. Thanks for joining us, Leslie.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we always get a little bit of background on our speaker, or our guest, I should say. But I think we actually need two sets of information, a little bit of background on you and where you've been, and also on Rung, because if you've been here in St. Louis, you may know about Rung in its previous iteration. And so there's some background on both, right?
Sure. I'll actually start with the latter. I'll start with Rung. And so many people know Rung, the clothing boutique.
Yes, it is a St. Louis native, Cheryl, just so you know.
Yes.
Okay, because I am not from St. Louis, because I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, Rung Clothing Boutique started about 10 years ago, located in Rock Hill, right at Manchester and McKnight. And essentially, our founder, Allie Hogan, created Rung Clothing Boutique to help women dress for the job that they wanted, as opposed to where they might have been in life at that time.
Okay. So it was high-end resale, right?
High-end resale. I loved to shop there.
I was going to say, I have a few items from.
It was one of my favorite stores.
Rock Hill. I'm like trying to figure out how in the world did I pass that?
I'll fill you in later exactly where it is.
But it was truly a retail gym.
Okay.
And
so it doesn't exist any longer?
It doesn't exist any longer.
Okay.
The store closed about 18 months ago. And at that point, the board and our founder decided that, what they had learned from working with women through like private shopping events and working with nonprofits that primarily served women and giving all of the benefits or the proceeds from the store to the Women's Foundation of Greater St. Louis, they learned that, guess what? Women needed more than clothes. They were encountering lots of women who had been in like short-term 2-year transitional living programs, were getting ready to transition out and had no safety net.
Right.
Were still broken, still dealing with trauma and mental health issues, physical health issues. And so she had the, really the foresight and the great idea to basically create Rung 2.0.
Awesome.
Yep. And so we are now at the pivot point of that original sort of concept around women's clothing to now holistic self-sufficiency for women.
And what does that mean?
That means the whole woman. So we know that in the professional environment, women as caregivers, as caretakers, if one area of our life is broken, everything is broken. And so, we take trauma to work, we take child care issues to work, lack of housing and transportation, quality of life issues to work. And so,
still got to do your job with a smile on your face.
Absolutely. Still have to perform and be a high performer. I think the other thing that our founder and the board discovered is that, once you get to a point of stability, however you define stability and and you're out of crisis, that typically means that you're making too much money to qualify for government assistance, but you're not making enough to get ahead.
Right.
So I always say, you know, our target is women who are surviving, not thriving. And we really want to get more women into that thriving category by removing barriers and connecting them to high demand career pathways. Typically careers where women are underrepresented. So that's why this conversation is so timely. Because, you know, for us, our mission is to, you know, really create a stronger, more stable middle class.
That's so exciting. And you had mentioned the founder, and she comes from a deep St. Louis roots, correct?
Yes. So our founder is Allie Kendo Hogan. She is granddaughter to Jack Taylor.
So Enterprise Rent-A-Car for our listeners who aren't in the area. And so a huge employer in our region, as well as a huge philanthropic presence in our region as well.
And what's a startup?
Yeah, an incredibly generous and humble family. And really, this is Allie's vision and legacy. And I have the great fortune to sort of bring it to life for her. The store was her idea. And, you know, after meeting and encountering women from all walks of life, this Rung 2.0, Rung for Women, was her idea as well. So I'm super excited. I'm a St. Louis native. I've lived other places and decided, you know, about 5 years ago to come back to St. Louis permanently.
Where were you at before, after you left St. Louis?
Yeah, so initially I left St. Louis. I'm a Rosati Kane High School graduate. I know that will mean something to someone.
Yes, it will.
Yes.
Left and I went to the East Coast. I went to Hampton University in Hampton, Virginia. And then I spent the first 10 years of my career in Washington, D.C., working for the mayor of Washington, D.C. Then I actually came back to St. Louis for a brief period of time. I wasn't ready. I think you always, home is home and there's no place like home. But at that stage in my life, I was like still on this fast train and wanted to be in a big city. So I came back for family reasons for a short period of time. Spent about a year here, went back to Washington, D.C., Then I've been in Atlanta and then St. Louis again. So I think.
So you've been in chocolate cities all around.
I have. And I think it helps me bring a different perspective to St. Louis and to this landscape, really around race and gender. And, you know, just the beauty that comes with diverse communities and diverse people. So I really look forward to St. Louis moving the needle in that area.
So did you come back specifically for this position at Rung, or were you here prior to that?
I was here prior to that. I was actually recruited away from another really important and historic organization here in town, Malone Children and Family Services. I was the CEO there for a couple years. Really tough work. And I think my aha was, you know, we were seeing children come into our care who were abused and neglected. Oftentimes from mothers who, you know, probably should have made a different choice. Whether it was economically or socially or physically.
But a lot of times some of this stuff happens because of what you described. When women are in crisis. And some don't know how to cope. They take it out on the children, which is unfortunate. They
make very serious decisions in serious circumstances. And, you know, I never judge a person's circumstance because I certainly understand the power of trauma and stress. So, but we saw lots of kids who were coming from, you know, mothers who wanted to be good parents, who, you know, wanted to work hard, but just did not have access to opportunity. And so for me, in thinking about what Rung will become, it's such a phenomenal opportunity to really change the landscape of our community and help women, remove barriers to success, but also get more women making more money.
Exactly.
So is that what was so attractive to you to move from Annie Malone to Rung? Was that you're able to impact women through this holistic view? It's
forward thinking, not reactionary. And so it's an opportunity to really help women think about what their future looks like as opposed to responding or reacting to a negative situation. So how do we get you out of that situation and into something more progressive, something more positive? And so that's essentially what we will do.
Yeah. So what strikes me about Allie's approach to the work, even in the 1.0 version of Rung, was that she chose not to simply give away her personal wealth.
Yes.
Right? She decided to create an earned revenue model.
Yep.
She was leveraging the market using a time-honored social enterprise model of a resale store to create the revenue to be able to invest in women's organizations. Are you carrying as an organization sort of that entrepreneurial DNA into the 2.0?
Absolutely. Even with 2.0, she said, you know what? I don't want to just start another nonprofit. Right. I really want to leverage existing assets and force organizations to work collaboratively.
That is so good, because I've always said this. I know this is the queen over here of nonprofit world, Christy, but I have always said this. We do not need to create another nonprofit. How do we work more efficiently with the organizations that we have?
Well, and again, what I find fascinating about it is that she wouldn't have had to create anything, honestly, you know? So the decision to create something and then to be thoughtful about what type of corporate structure to use and then what type of revenue model to use and then what kind of theory of change to use and layering all of those together in terms of, again, whether you're for-profit or nonprofit,
you're an enterprise.
As an owner, right? Whether you're a board member who's stewarding it for the community, or you're an entrepreneur who's owning it and having equity, you're really making decisions about what to do with your profit.
No question.
Right? And to me, it's exciting that bringing that mindset of someone with wealth to the generation of revenue to then create social change. So I'm, sorry to geek out everybody, but like this for me is the intersection of entrepreneurship, social change, social justice, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely.
And she could have easily have just said, here, I'm going to...
She could have just written a check.
Here you go.
I mean, that's the thing. Is
exactly.
That, I don't know. If I were her, I might have thought long and hard about just writing a check. Right? You know what I mean?
It really is who she is.
Yeah.
And she cares deeply about this community, and she wants to see us be better. She wants to see St. Louis be better. So, it does not surprise me at all that she is. It's just who she is. That's who she is.
I also find it remarkable that, Rung was doing well. It's not as though the business model wasn't working.
No.
And she chose to stop it.
Yeah.
Right? Most of us would keep a good thing going and just long enough to get what we could out of it while we were figuring out what 2.0 looked like.
Well, that tells me,
but she took 18 months to figure it out and not maintain the other business at the same time.
Well, that speaks to how much she's involved.
Yeah.
It's not just from the sidelines. She's really involved.
She's really involved. I mean, we've done a ton of research, looked at best practices across the country to determine go, no go. I mean, she was very thoughtful in her approach to this business model. And she didn't just wake up one morning and say, you know what, I think I'm going to do this. She was really diligent and visited organizations in other parts of the country to really find out what was working, what isn't working, where there are gaps in service. And that's really how we narrowed our target market.
So even though I know we're getting ready to go to a break, you were included in that process?
I was, yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I started about 18 months ago.
Okay.
Some of the research predated me because I did not work for the boutique. But I was very involved in sort of the progression of where we are today. And I'll tell you more about that.
Yeah.
It's exciting. When we come back,
on the other side,
continue that conversation.
BioSTL is a proud founding sponsor of the Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. We want you to know about all the great things they are up to, including the BioSTL STEM Entrepreneur Inclusion Initiative and Fundamentals Program for early stage would-be entrepreneurs in the life sciences in St. Louis. You can learn more about all of BioSTL's programs by visiting biostl.org. And for your renewed and continuing support, BioSTL, we say thank you.
My name is Shayba Muhammad. I am the designer and owner of Malone, as well as founder of the Makers Program. To me, entrepreneurially thinking means to be a problem solver and how are we being of service to the community.
Leslie, we were talking about how this, earned revenue model, the approach to this philanthropic and business endeavor being really steeped in research and understanding what works, what doesn't work. I wanted to just tie back. We've actually had two other guests who paused their current operations and then pivoted within their own businesses. Sweethead Naturals comes to mind, and Marissa Payne also comes to mind. So this isn't just those of us who have the means to. I was just reminded of those two entrepreneurs who also said, like, I need to actually stop what I'm doing, examine what matters to me, examine what's happening in the environment around me, and then take the next step. So following that lead, what did you and Allie and the rest of the organization learn? And what is this Rung 2.0 thing? And where is it? And who's involved? And all that good stuff.
Absolutely. So we actually spent the better part of my first year talking to women. Go figure.
Customer inquiry.
Absolutely. Talking to women. We had a shell of an idea that we're like, okay.
You had to validate.
We had to validate, right? And we will continue to validate along the way.
It's called iterating.
Absolutely.
Right.
We went to visit other nonprofits who were in a similar space, but maybe not the exact same model. So we went.
So it wasn't just locally. You guys were looking.
Yeah. We looked at an organization in Cincinnati called CityLink Center. That was really a lot of inspiration for our initial thinking. There's an organization out of Boston called Empath. Both organizations do a ton of great work around economic mobility, but no one was working specifically with women. And no one was working specifically with this population of women in the middle, right? So out of crisis, but not thriving. Right. And so we knew that was our niche. We knew that there are lots of crisis organizations in this town.
For sure.
And there are lots of organizations for children and youth, but we needed a space where women could be empowered and where they could develop themselves and grow in whatever area of life they needed to grow in. And so there were some of those concepts around the country. But really, we decided, you know what we're going to do? We're going to build our own thing. We have enough information from other places that we know what we don't want to do. So let's go figure out what we want to do. So last July, we actually did an RFP process, request for proposal, to the nonprofit world, locally primarily, asking for partners in specific areas. So we have 4 pillars: wealth building, family stability, well-being, and career. So we were looking for best-in-class organizations that could essentially co-locate with us and co-design this program that would really change the trajectory for women. And so we spent the better part of about 6 or 7 months going through a competitive process, talking to lots of nonprofits and their boards. And just a couple months ago, we announced our 7 resident partners. So really, the resident partners will deliver service. Rung is an umbrella organization. Okay. So I'll talk a little bit about our building and, philosophy, but we don't know what we don't know. And there are some areas.
You guys are like a convener.
We're a convener. We're an umbrella. We are the backbone organization.
Are you identifying as a collective impact?
We're
and I ask because it's sort of like asking people who sit in that chair as well, like whether or not they self-identify as entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
Simply because you're doing work that is collectively impactful does not mean you
we're
necessarily
like a hybrid.
take that.
We're a hybrid of collective impact and entrepreneurship. Primarily because, we don't want to get stuck talking. We really want to...
Bias towards action, which would be very entrepreneurial.
Absolutely. So we're very intentional about doing. So we selected our 7 partners: Kingdom House in the family stability space, Prosperity Connections and wealth building. We'll also have a banking partner that provides products. Family Care Health Center, that we will have an on-site medical clinic.
Right. They are my primary care, so I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, Safe Connections and Provident will do our mental health and counseling. And then 2 sort of outliers, the Women's Foundation of Greater St. Louis and Urban Harvest. So
That is they are like two different types of organizations.
Yeah, and I'll explain. So I told you the 4 pillars. And, we really wanted to create a space where women could come who wouldn't typically identify or solicit social services. So that group of women in the middle don't necessarily think that they are in need of anything, right? And so, we didn't want it to feel institutional. We wanted it to feel very homey and empowering. And so, part of our thought process was, we want people to come and hang out. We want this to be sense of community.
Because I think a lot of times people have stigmas associated with women in crisis. Right. It's people of color.
So I can have a great meal, it sounds like, and maybe hold a meeting at?
Absolutely. Yes. So our location, we acquired a site in November, 2717 Sydney Street in the Fox Park neighborhood.
Yes, great neighborhood.
Yep, right at Jefferson and Gravois for anyone in St. Louis. So it's about 3.7 acres. We are renovating an existing historic building and adding an addition. So total square footage is about 45,000 square feet.
Nice.
So we will have meeting spaces for 2 people up to 200. We'll have a career center on site. We'll have a gym, a commercial kitchen, a demonstration kitchen.
So you're rehabbing an existing facility or building?
She said
both.
Rehabbing and adding on.
Yeah.
Wow.
Rehabbing and adding on. And so part of also what we will offer is while women are taking advantage of services in the building, there's also a child watch space. So bring your kids.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, drop them off, go meet with your coach, because Rung's role will be to match each member, we don't call them clients, each member with a coach. So think life coach, think executive coach. Those of us who have been in leadership roles.
Absolutely. We need those folks.
We need those folks. Well, all people need them, honestly.
Yes, they do.
Everyone needs an accountability partner.
For sure.
So
you call these folks members. Is it a membership model that they have to...
Services
they pay for?
They do not. Services are free for members. Obviously, there's a cost for our program, but... there's no cost to members.
Okay.
But, again... You talked about the stigma related to going into a social service environment and being referred to as a client or a participant. For us, we wanted this to be a sense of community and that you are part of a network. And so that's why we call them members. And they are going to be matched with a coach. And we're talking about certified coaches, not case managers, not,
somebody that walks off the street that says, I'm a coach.
Right. No, we have spent, part of our research was spent looking at coaching models across the country and trying to find the right fit for certified coaches.
That's exciting.
So it's interesting that I'm going back to the membership model because if it's free, did you guys have any qualms about, if they don't have any skin in the game, will they take these services seriously?
Yeah, I think we did. And we were very thoughtful about that, which is why our minimum age is 21, because we want women who are intrinsically motivated. And this is not like a 3 months and you're done. Once you're a member, you're always a member.
Okay.
And so as you meet your goals, the expectation is that you will pay it forward and support the community in some other way. And so that's the skin in the game. We also realize there's a certain level of maturity that comes with being able to appreciate
so
what you're being given. So is there an interview
process or something that,
Yeah, so it's a cohort model. So we will do 100 women per quarter.
Because that was my question, because I'm like, it sounds so fantastic. How do you manage the resources if you get 1,000 people who want to be part of this?
Yeah,
so it's an interview.
We'll be looking for intrinsic motivation. We'll be looking for grit. We'll be looking for, stable housing, some work history, minimum age 21, high school diploma or GED. Marital status doesn't matter. Immigration status doesn't matter. As long as you identify as a woman, you are welcome to participate. But we will be really screening to make sure that, we don't squander the opportunity.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what I was
So
thinking.
you've decided to keep the brand.
Yes, we have.
So Rung, in my mind, was always about rungs on a ladder, right?
That is exactly what it's about.
And growing up was always told, don't be a ladder puller.
Yep.
Don't get to the top and then pull the ladder up behind you, right?
Yeah,
that was a really important thing as I was doing my women's studies and my Women's Fund of New Jersey and all that, right?
Yeah.
So I get the brand piece. What's the revenue model then for this? Because this isn't a resale shop.
It is not. And so it is a startup.
Okay.
And so Allie is funding the startup.
So you got a runway.
Yep, we got a runway. So we have about a 3-year runway. We are providing some financial incentive to those partner organizations to join us because we realize that
relocating's big.
Relocating,
all sorts of things are
capacity
big, right?
building, and each of them this will be a satellite location.
Right.
So
they've got other clientele, they have other members, perhaps.
Absolutely. Okay. Yes. So for us, we had to provide that sort of startup capital, which is what she's doing. And then collectively, we will decide on a sustainability model. So it'll be like a traditional nonprofit. Grants, other earned income. We've talked about, since we're going to grow food, we might have some social entrepreneurship and do a farmer's market.
I get really excited.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you need any help?
Do a farmer's market.
I would love to think through those options.
Yeah. So we haven't quite figured that out, but the luxury that we have is time. So, we have at least 12 to 14 months before our doors open. So we'll spend the next 12 to 14 months working with those organizations in a co-design program co-design effort. Yeah. And we'll be certainly talking about sustainability as part of that.
Yeah. I've been working with the Community Impact and Action Center at UMSL now that has taken over for the public policy work there. And we've been looking at business models, right? And that same thing of like, how do you use traditional philanthropic dollars to essentially be patient capital and startup capital, runway capital, and then create a blended model in those cases moving forward. So I'm just fascinated by that's where our community, I've again, all my latent fundraising and social entrepreneurship stuff gets all activated with that.
Yeah, I really admire Allie for taking this approach. Because to your point, she could have just said, you know what, I'm going to write a check. Right. She decided, you know what, I want to help organizations build capacity and I want everyone to get farther faster. Right. And so if all of our philanthropic entities thought in that way and forced us to work together, look at how much impact we could have.
And invest in the talent. You've been on the job for 18 months. You're now just essentially breaking ground on the physical aspects of this and clearly have done tons and tons of work. But I think what we forget is whether we're for-profit or nonprofit, investing in the people, putting together the right team, having the right plan, being able to do that customer discovery and really talk to people, be able to iterate in the moment. These are the transferable skills that really make or break whatever venture you're going to do.
Certainly.
So do you self-identify as an entrepreneur?
I do. I think I'm probably like a serial entrepreneur.
Oh, I love it.
In the nonprofit space because I love to build things.
Fantastic.
I love to fix things. And in most of my roles, I've been a change agent. So,
So you're bringing a lot of the skills that you have from each one of the different places that, that's most people will bring their experience to their new experience.
Most people won't necessarily identify it as thinking entrepreneurially,
right?
Or having an entrepreneurial approach to
in the
work.
nonprofit
especially
area.
in the nonprofit.
We don't use those words.
We do not. So, and nor do we use revenue models.
Right.
And we don't talk business, and we don't talk about doing the research. We say, wow, people are hungry. People need houses, right? And that's all true.
We want to stop the bleeding, but
and there are optimal ways to do it, right? I can get you housing in a lot of different ways. And that may or may not actually really be what you need, right? And I got to talk to you.
Yeah, well, I have a business background, so I have an MBA. So I think for me, my heart and head are very much aligned, and the nonprofit space was just the ideal landing space.
Well, I think you've said this all the time. When people talk about nonprofit versus for-profit, that's just a tax.
It's a tax status, not a business model.
It's not a business model. You still have to be sustainable.
Yes,
right,
absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's not just grant funding because that can dry up and go away anytime.
Absolutely. So, grant funding, government funding.
Yes.
The funder landscape is constantly changing.
Absolutely.
So you've got to be creative.
Yeah. And you have a commercial kitchen, you said, that
we
you
do.
guys...
we could help you fill that up,
I was going to say, between the growing and,
I got a
the
short
commercial
list that's
kitchen.
really long.
Oh, my God.
And a demonstration kitchen because... we want to make sure that we teach people how to fish.
Absolutely.
We have many a food entrepreneur we could make an introduction for.
Exactly.
We'd be excited about that.
Well, for us, it's about teaching healthy lifestyle.
Yes.
Well, right. Absolutely. Because I'm relearning that right now. What is as old as new again.
Absolutely.
I'm being reminded of many things I should have absorbed the first 15 times around. But anyway, as we talk about how we all evolve and change and grow, you're in the midst of the rehab. You have your 7 partners. What should people be looking for? Like, when are we going to see? Because, folks like to see and touch and feel.
We've had some difficulty managing that because it's such an exciting concept and a bold experiment, and everyone wants to get involved. And so right now we're 12 months of co-design. So this time next year, expect to.
So we'll be talking summer of 2020.
Summer of 2020. We likely will open our doors first quarter, but we'll take a first cohort, a small group of women in the first quarter of 2020, but fully functioning and operational the second quarter of 2020.
That's awesome. Great. And if folks want to keep tabs on you online, where should they go?
Yep. They should go to rungforwomen.org, or if you have questions or want to get involved, info@rungforwomen.org.
Fantastic.
That's easy. So that's great.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for making time to be with us. Yes. This is an exciting iteration in the work that you all are doing, and we're just really thrilled that you're being so bold.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
I love that. Thinking about how you do things differently. So thanks.
Changing the way you view new ventures, unlocking your creativity and innovation, igniting your thinking about entrepreneurship. It's Entrepreneurially Thinking. Get connected and discover more. Visit entrepreneuriallythinking.com to listen to all your favorite episodes and learn more about our guests, hosts, and sponsors. Feeling inspired? Be sure to share your thoughts, questions, and stories in the comments section. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. The best way to show love is to share and subscribe. Let everybody know that you're entrepreneurially thinking.